My favorite time of year. Crappies are biting and the turkeys are gobbling. And this lake probably had a sheet of ice on it no more than 2 weeks ago, I bet. So we're gonna try and target some crappies out in the basin. It's pre-spawn, water's cold. They're still kind of doing their thing like what they had been under a sheet of ice. We've been here before, and we've been here in the winter particularly. So we have a little bit of an idea as to where to start. Water's cold. It's like 40, upper 40s, mid to upper 40s. And it takes some time and takes some warmth for these fish to slide up into the shallows when they're kind of accessible. Today we're doing something a little bit different where we're targeting these fish. It's pre-spawn and these fish haven't moved up. We know they're somewhere, but that's kind of the puzzle that's fishing, is we're trying to figure out where they are, what they're doing, but it can be a real daunting task. A lot of times in the spring, you kind of have your normal haunts where you've caught panfish in the past, but it just, again, it takes time for those areas to warm up and those fish to actually arrive to that area. So I'm gonna just keep covering some water, staring at my side imaging here, and looking for little pods of crappies and bluegills like this right here. You can see in this basin, it's this real amber colored matter is just basin's bottom. It's a basin bottom, mud bottom. It's soft. You can tell that by the return, but you see these little hot spots right here. And it doesn't look like much. I'm looking out 100 feet, but that's a school of crappies right here. That shows me a hard, bright return. And these aren't massive schools of crappies, I believe, but they are schools of crappies nonetheless. Again, it doesn't look like a whole lot, but we're looking out a long way. So a lot of times your image seems to look smaller than what it really is. So you can kind of blow in on it and you can start to see some of those individual hot spots. And those are individual fish right there. That's what you're looking for, is schools of crappie. There we go. Got ourselves a crappie. Good little start. Just a little jig in plastic. Yeah, take him. They're not very deep. These fish get suspended in the basin, so it looks like they're less than 20 feet down. Usually I just reel this little bait slow when I'm covering a little bit of water. Most of the time these fish are like, it seems that they're fairly shallow in the water column. So you kind of have to be careful, especially like in wind like this. It's really easy to let off the trolling motor and reel and start drifting with the wind, and while you're reeling, and really speed up your cadence. These guys are chilly and they're hungry, but if you're a little too fast, they definitely won't catch up to it and eat it. So it's really important to watch the speed of which you reel that bait. Oh, I missed him. I dropped back down because I could see I was kind of pulling it pretty quickly. And I could see that line jump. I like that high vis line is nice for watching, because it's kind of hard to feel bites right now in the wind, to be honest. And you can see that bow in that green braid. You can see that line kind of boop. There we go. That might be a little bit better one. Yeah. There we go. Not bad. a beautiful eating fish, I would say. If you like to keep crappies to harvest, that's about an 11-inch class fish. That's excellent table fare right there. Let them go. See you another day. There we go. Oh yeah, there's another decent one. Yes. Little artificial crappie fishing. Springtime doesn't get a whole heck of a lot better than that. Getting the boat in for the first time, catching some fish. Can't beat it. This wind is kind of tricky. Kind of trying to keep the rod tip down along the kind of parallel with the water to eliminate a little bit of the bow in my line. But this is just a little minnow bait right here. It's just a little jig and minnow. Has a little prop on it. You can see that little prop spin. And it's actually a little tungsten head, so I can cast it pretty well in the wind. And then it sinks pretty fast. But on the other hand, you have that prop, which adds resistance, water resistance. So yeah, it falls and it spins, so it falls a little bit slower, but because it's tungsten, it's all doable. But when you start engaging that bait back toward the boat, I feel like you can kind of reel it a little bit slower too. Like I'd mentioned earlier, I think your speed is a really big factor when you're dealing with cold water fish. You got it. On the cork, switched up a little bit to the classic jig and live bait. Because there's so much wind, you can see I have a little plastic on there with a minnow just hooked in the head because the wind and current is dragging through, and I just feel like it's a little more of a natural presentation with that little bait hooked in the head versus in the dorsal. Oh, he grabbed it right away. Kind of like longer rods for doing some of the crappie fishing too. I've always liked a long limber rod so I don't tear out hooks. But gosh, it doesn't get any more classic than this. You know, if I lose my bait too, I still have a little chance of this is like a little Z-Man goat on here, the little bait finesse deal. So I do have a chance of catching a fish on that too. Let's say I set the hook and miss. I still have a little plastic on there to, potentially get a bite. Oh, that's a nice one. Nice crappie. Heck yeah. That's so much fun.